This is Misstep, written by Kraiva and Trin, SSJTrinity. Part 18 of Surrogate, the Director's Cut. The rating is teen. No archive warnings apply. The fandom is Malevolent, the podcast.
Additional tags. Ignore the crossover. It's just scenery. Chewable scenery. Everyone's communicating so well, aren't they? They are not. Spring right. Wonder what that's all about. Voices by Charliegolightly as Martin, Igneous as John Sims, LynnLarsh as John Doe, Jasper as Arthur, Flamia as Hastur, Vmprsm as the Narrator, SSJTrinity, Kraiva, and Somniate as the work introduction. Editing by Flamia. Directed by Vmprsm. Transcript by Saffron. Created and posted with permission from the authors of Surrogate, the Director's Cut.
Hastur comes back from a failed mission in a terrible mood. Arthur and John playing jazz make it worse.
There is something terrifying about an empty universe. Matter without life, minimal heat, barely enough vibration to keep it all from drifting to disconnected atoms. There aren't many places like this. Hastur only knows of 6 timelines where the worst thing went wrong, the ultimate thing went sour, and through volition or happenstance, that universe met its end. These are places outer gods did not go. If there is the barest hope, the smallest reason that keeps them away, he has to try to find it. This particular timeline is tricky. It was ended by choice, not chance, and it is not empty. That which ate all things still is. There is some thing which dwells among these stars, vast and dark and desolate. Some thing which follows an unknowable web as it moves from empty world to empty world, seeing everything, seeing nothing. Some thing that hungers and hunts, some thing that slew and spiraled and shriveled all until the circus that is life went out. Everyone avoids this universe. This last thing, this final thing, could be neither comprehended nor fought. But it can also only be in one place at a time, and Hastur is desperate. It could have left something of value behind. Hastur is very quiet as he can be, investigating dead planets, digging through rubble of ancient life. He eyes an umbrella with disgust. The fuck was even the point of that thing? Finding bones buried so deep they'd been compressed, and in spite of his own will and wards, grows achingly and chillingly aware of how alone he is. There isn't anything here he can use after all. His hopes fade, and his fear for Pharaoh grows. There is nothing to wield or solder into armor, or waft like hideous incense to keep Cain away. Pharaoh, he must keep looking. He has 5 more years. He must not lose hope, though every failed attempt to find some solution grows that fear like wildfire. He will check other timelines next, but he is done with this one. With relief, Hastur goes to leave. With shock, he finds he's not alone. The something that ate it all is tiny and quiet, and so sudden and so much that he has no chance to comprehend his looming end. He gasps and is consumed. not consumed, held, floating, in terror.
Let him go, John. Can't you see why he's here?
I see. I'm hungry.
He still won't eat me, though.
How? How can there be fondness in a non-place like this, in an ocean of horror, in...
Never. I will never eat you.
I know. Let him go. He's here for love. Even I can see that.
All right. For you.
Thank you.
The things I do for you.
And Hastur is spat out. He comes to in his own domain with no memory of crawling there, sprawled in his magic field like a dropped cloak. He is in absolute shock that he's alive, absolute shock that he's sane, absolute horror that he was unconscious. He has never been unconscious. How the fuck do mortals handle it? It's terrible. Darkness, being unaware, the incomprehensible loss of memory. It scares him as much as that sea of fear he'd been caught in, like a trap. It was not too different from feeling Cain's ire, actually. Who the fuck had that been in there anyway? People? Consciousness? In the Eaton timeline? This throws all theories about that timeline into chaos, torquing them into unrecognizable tangles. He has no idea what this means, what the shape even is of this new and tortured knot. He decides in an instant that he won't be the one to unravel it. Maybe he was eaten a little. His torn edges, the places where John was ripped away, feel worse than ever tonight, freshly sore and harried, burned and reddened anew. Hastur is shaky, ill. He feels his incompleteness sharply as he enters his palace late at night. He needs to advance the plan with John. He needs to hold Arthur, to find John and see how the seeds he's planted fare. He needs to be whole. He needs to spend time with them, whether they're awake or not, and instead, he finds his composer and his piece have not gone to bed, but, inexplicably, they are busy at the keys. The sound that floats from the music room is suspiciously unlike one of his jubilees, unlike any of the smaller compositions his composer has put together for Faro, and unlike any music Hastur has ever heard. Piano notes dance in the air, playing back and forth with an enthusiasm that makes him go still and silent to listen. What was this? It was wild, enrapturing, unpredictable. It felt like life. He's so engaged that he nearly startles when the piece ends abruptly and chaotically with a run of the piano, and he hears laughter. John's laughter.
You're getting quite good at this. I had no idea you'd take to this so well.
It's a hidden talent.
The piece's voice drips with self-appreciation.
Though I had an excellent teacher.
Oh, stop it. I'm serious, though. We'd be one hell of a dueling pianos act, if you had your own body.
What?
Dueling pianos?
A few notes dance along the piano's lower register.
It's a type of performance where two pianists work together to improvise a piece. One trades off back and forth with a partner. Sometimes you wrest control of the melody, others you work together to create something more.
Like a play fight for dominance. I see.
I never did one myself. The places I frequented only had a single piano.
The piece is silent for a moment, leaving Hastur to grapple with this horrific scene. This isn't how this is meant to develop. This is not what his composer is meant to do. This is not how the piece is meant to act.
Would we be big, do you think, in our go?
Hastur tries to still the rage that rises in him like a tide. No need to lose his temper. This is fixable. He could.
Arkham? We'd be big in New York City, John.
You mean that?
You're really bloody good. If we were back home, we'd take it by storm. We'd be the greatest piano duo.
Home. Duo. Two. Them. Hastur snaps. He surges into the room like boiling oil, bypassing walls and entering like a landslide, his fury scorching the air with the crackle of barely restrained magic and the reek of ozone. Arthur reacts instinctually, tumbling over the piano bench and staggering backward as the piece struggles to describe what is happening in time.
He just appeared, Arthur, and he's...
Even he doesn't know what he's reaching for as he lunges. Tentacles out, power flared, roar rattling the sconces on the walls. To crush Arthur and hurt him for taking the piece away. To crush Arthur and hurt John for being taken away. To grab them both and not crush but sway and make them love him. The last thought shocks him so much that he changes direction and smashes the piano instead. The violence of it is barely satisfying. It's thin wood, no real substance, lacquer and very little metal. But at least he can snap the piano wires, and that is satisfying. And pulling them between his arms and forcing them to stretch and break gives him something he can feel that is not whatever that last thought was. And then, all too soon, it's over. There is no more piano left to smash within reason, and Arthur is huddled against the far wall doing his panicked whimper, the one where he voices every exhale, his arm over his head, resonating absolute terror through the mark on his soul, which is impossible. Hastur tells himself that he's the one who reached, that he's feeling Arthur because Hastur had a rough day, and it was just a subconscious grab for what is his, because Arthur can't send things through it, so he didn't. And that's that, and...
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Between that and Arthur's broadcasted, repeated, distressing distress, Hastur realizes what he's done. He's just ripped up the plants he spent months tending with his own stupid hands. There is a moment of precipitous silence.
You fucking asshole!
John's left arm grips Arthur tightly, as if it could possibly protect him.
You just can't let us have one fucking thing! One thing that's not yours!
Arthur is shuddering from the force of John's yells now. John still doesn't understand that of late his anger hurts. Calm, Hastur is not calm. He tries to consider the situation. This plant, to continue the metaphor because he is fucking calm, sits in his massive hand, roots intact, not yet dead. He can fix this. The key to John is Arthur. It's always Arthur. And the key to Arthur is always Faro. Right. He, the unspeakable, the prince of the great old ones, will now foment a plan.
Arthur.
He plays one of his most dangerous gambits.
I'm sorry. Sorry?
John sounds, if anything, even more offended. But to get to John, Hastur must focus on Arthur.
Not for this. I am sorry about Faro.
Hook, line.
Throw!
Arthur's voice is strained as he raises his head above his arm, lured. And sinker.
Cain is going to come for her in 5 years. Did you not wonder why, at such a crucial time in her formation, I would be gone so often? I am trying to find a way to protect her. I thought I had found one such means tonight, but it failed. I failed.
Had he come on too strong? Was it too much? He watches the piece, watches Arthur. Wants to rage and smash and scream. Wants to gather Arthur up like Pharaoh and hide him completely from sight. Wants to go to war, maybe, though he doesn't know with whom.
You were trying to do that?
He's a fucking liar, Arthur.
The piece is not on board yet, but that will come soon enough.
I was trying to do that.
Hastur creates a sound specifically meant to entice Arthur further.
I am. It is difficult. Alone, I am attempting a thing that has never been done in all of existence.
He is damned lucky Arthur is broken. Oh, the man is better, sure, aggravatingly so some days, but still broken. He still hasn't really processed everything. Certainly not Kane's words during the mess that started all of this.
I thought he was leaving her alone.
No. She shines too bright. Her safety is not sure.
Arthur is breathing too fast again, but now for different reasons. Hastur knows he's overwhelmed him. The shock of attack, the risk of danger and adrenaline surge, the grief and horror of the destroyed piano, the fear of harm, all of it. And now, threat against Pharaoh. That overwhelmed state is crucial. It's soft soil, ready for planting.
I will replace your piano.
Hastur says, as though struggling to find his pride, to cover it all over, as if he realizes he's erred. He's going to have to destroy something tonight. Something bigger than a damned piano. He wants to go after the piece for daring to think it could be John and Arthur and John, off on fucking adventures someday like some homemaking human book series. It takes more will than he likes to keep calm.
Why did you break the piano?
Damn. He'd been hoping that wouldn't be asked. All right, truth, weaponized.
Because I ache. I fear for my daughter. And I hurt because I am not whole.
And he abruptly decides he will go for it, and twist the knife even as he replants in fresh soil, never mind mixing metaphors.
And I come here to find you happy and unconcerned, and John happy and unconcerned, and I felt...
Abandoned? Too cheesy. Like the only one looking out for Pharaoh? Too over the top.
Alone.
John is already bristling.
The hell are you talking about? You're hurting worse? Why?
Now, that was an interesting statement.
You have an artificial system to keep you from fully feeling the loss of yourself. I do not.
That stuns John, briefly silent.
Hastur
pauses, masterfully, he thinks.
I am trying to save my daughter. I understand this is outside your purview. You cannot help me. Not as you are. It is all on me to find a way to defeat or defend against an outer god. I am...
Like the word hurts.
Sorry about the piano.
He added that last bit as though trying to cover for something more. The key to John is Arthur, and Arthur has always been a sap for a heartfelt apology. Arthur is uncurling. His breath wavers still, hitching with the last pulses of adrenaline, but he's calming, face slowly morphing from the wide-eyed terror to suspicion and, now, to disquietude. He swallows thickly, his Adam's apple bobbing, and Hastur can feel his heart softening. Such a weak point that, even when John hurt him to the point they were hitting each other, quite the show that had been, Arthur forgave him the moment he apologized. Absurd. But that growing acceptance feels very good.
Arthur? He's full of shit. Listen to me.
I suppose I can understand, maybe, where you're coming from.
Arthur's voice making a valiant attempt to be firm even in its pathetic, adorable wavering.
Arthur!
Arthur winces.
Listen to me.
A rift? An unexpected benefit. He has to nail the landing on this.
I feel perhaps we have come some way toward understanding one another, at least in regard to attachment.
Love.
Arthur challenges, which is exactly what Hastur hoped he'd do.
The word you mean is love.
Hastur hesitates magnificently.
If you wish.
It's love.
Arthur can't quite stand. He's better, he is, but this was a bad shock, and he feels shaky as hell.
You love her.
I do.
No hesitation there.
I believe you.
And that, monsters and murderers, is one hell of a step forward. Hastur is not calm. John is growling now. It's such a tiny sound compared to his.
What? You're done? Just like that, you're done. He fucking smashed the piano, covered you in splinters, and just like that, you're done?
John.
I don't believe a syllable of what you just said.
John snarls at Hastur now.
What are you after here? What are you trying to do?
The piece thought this whole thing was part of a plan? He didn't mean to, but there it is. He's impressed John with his intelligence and strategizing to the point that John thinks smashing the piano like a lunatic was part of a greater plan.
Hastur! No. I'm invested now, John. What exactly do you think I was trying to accomplish? I lost myself in fear, took it out on an inanimate object, and you happened to be the catalyst. Where is the grand plan in that? How would you use the situation to your benefit then?
Stop it.
Arthur stands, finally.
Both of you.
Arthur! You're covered in splinters!
Hastur reaches through the mark. It's true. How odd. Arthur's distress he'd felt, but surely if Hastur had been subconsciously reaching to know what Arthur was feeling, he'd have picked up on the physical pain as well? Hastur shakes that thought off.
Let me see. Don't you touch him! Very mature.
Hastur picks his composure off the ground. Arthur flinches.
Why are humans so fragile?
Fuck if I know.
A single frond of attitude poking up from the soil. Well, that was probably a good sign. To someone else.
Be still.
He will use magic to get the wood out.
Ow! Ow!
Be still.
John smacks a tentacle with his left hand.
Be careful!
He still wants to maybe not start a war, after all. Hastur feels better. And it is not because he is holding Arthur. It should not be peaceful, extracting wood from a human. It should be annoying, mending 1,000 tiny wounds as small as the tips of his tentacles. It is not annoying. It is peaceful. In spite of stupid human skin, which seems to serve very little purpose beyond keeping their organs demurely from view. His hide took no damage, thank you very much. No one says another word about the ruined piano, the jazz, the duo. But Hastur is thinking it. John is thinking it. Arthur is thinking about Faro. Unexpected, this benefit. He's got them on 2 different trains of thought, and he could use that. But not now. A plant could only handle being ripped out of the soil so many times before it died. The plan to be whole is still on track. It is. It had to be.
Concert grand next time.
What?
That was only a medium grand. You've been adding more instruments. I need a concert grand to be heard over everybody.
Very well. The spring rite is in 2 weeks anyway. Perhaps it is time for an upgrade.
Spring rite?
Yes. I have specific requests for that night. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Faro's birthday's in 2 weeks.
The day after the rite. It will not interfere.
Arthur is tired.
Sure.
He's worried for Faro. He hadn't realized she was in danger now. Maybe Hastur exaggerated the situation. Maybe it was worth it.
Fucker. You could have killed him.
John is still fixated on Hastur's misstep.
I would not have. I dare not harm him. You would never forgive me.
Except he almost had. If not for the Mark's pull, he would have. What a close call this had been.
I hate you.
And it is a lie.
Rinse the blood off. Your piano will be restored tomorrow.
Can we?
Speak, child.
We're doing that again. So you know.
Playing your music?
Jazz. Yes, we are.
Arthur.
No.
I see.
No. Fuck. Hastur's not sure where his stab of envy is pointed. At which of them? John. Of course it's John. It has to be pointed at John. It's not. Fuck.
Fucker.
He puts them down in Arthur's room, gently, though despite himself, his grip lingers.
It was good. Your music. You have my permission to continue.
We don't need your fucking permission to make music together!
Arthur winces, hurt by that bellow. He takes a moment to recover, then rests one hand on the tentacle around his waist.
Good.
And John sees that touch, and can't feel that touch, and groans like he's been stabbed. Arthur does not know why.
John?
And it feels... Hastur's exhale is slow, measured. He no longer feels like he has to smash anything tonight.
Fine. I'm fine.
Arthur's brow knits. Hastur decides they can work that one out on their own.
Rest well.
He leaves. Tenses once he's out of sight. Curses himself out, because this should not have happened at all. He resolves never, ever to go near that particular creepy timeline again. And he crosses off yet another potential way to protect Faro from danger. Thank hell Kane didn't care about her now. They still had time. They had time. He could do this. He will keep her safe, and he will get John back. He is going to have it all. It's just going to take more patience.
If you enjoyed this production of Surrogate, the Director's Cut, please read the original written work on AO3, where it is still actively updating as of August 2024. A link is in the work notes, where you can also find the social medias of all the production cast. Malevolent was written and produced by Harlan Guthrie, and all characters depicted here belong to their respective creators. The cast and management produced this show for no monetary gain, and all rights remain with the authors. Any sound effects or music used in this production were obtained legally or are created by the production cast. Please let us know your thoughts, and as Kane would say,
Stay tuned for the next episode!